Imagine a hospital corridor, a flickering light casting shadows on the walls. In 1973, this was the last place Aruna Sandberg felt alive. A nurse uniform hangs in a locker, waiting for its owner to clock out. She never does. One brutal night stole Aruna's voice, her movement, her entire life as she knew it. A chain clinked in the darkness that night, leaving her trapped in her own body for 42 years. A story stormed India's Supreme Court, forcing a question: who gets to decide when life ends? November 27th, 1973. Mumbai's King Edward Memorial Hospital buzzed with its usual chaos. Aruna Sandberg, a 25-year-old nurse with a steady hand and a warm smile, was wrapping up her shift. She had spent years caring for others. Now she was ready to head home. But in the hospital basement, a sweeper named Sohanlal Balmiki had other plans. He attacked her. He wrapped a dog chain around her neck, yanking her back as he assaulted her. Finding her menstruating, he sodomized her, twisting the chain tighter to immobilize her. The next morning, a cleaner found her unconscious, blood pooling around her. The strangulation had got oxygen to her brain, causing irreversible damage. Her heart was beating, but her mind had forever gone. Doctor diagnosed her with a persistent vegetative state, a condition where she remained awake but unaware, unable to move, speak, or feed herself. For 42 years, she survived on massed food through a tube, tended by the KEM staff who became her surrogate family after her own drifted away. And from the legal context, PVS blurs the line between life and death and leaves us with a deeper question. What does it mean to live when consciousness vanishes? How do laws define existence when the mind, but not the body, slips away? While Aruna lay trapped in her body, the law tried to respond, but it stumbled. Sohanlal was arrested and hauled into court. You would think he would face rape or attempted murder charges, right? Wrong. Back in 1973, Section 375 of the Indian Penal Code, the law defining rape only covered vaginal penetration. Sodomy, not rape, under that outdated rule. So Sohanlal got off with assault and robbery charges. 7 years in prison. 7 years for destroying a life. Meanwhile, Aruna's colleagues at KEM Hospital stepped up, becoming her caregivers, her lifeline, feeding her and bathing her for decades. The law failed her, but they didn't. Section 375 defined rape narrowly as penile vaginal penetration, excluding acts like sodomy. This gap meant lighter sentences for offenders like Sohanlal. The Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013 later expanded the definition, but too late for Aruna. Aruna's 42 years in PVS didn't just break hearts, it broke legal ground. Enter euthanasia, the act of ending a life to stop suffering. Fast forward to 2009, Aruna had been in PVS for 36 years. Journalist Pinky Virani, who had written Aruna's story, couldn't take it anymore. Claiming to be her next friend, she filed a petition under Article 32, asking the Supreme Court to allow passive euthanasia, withdrawing life-sustaining treatments, to let Aruna die naturally. Article 32 lets citizens directly petition the Supreme Court for fundamental rights violations. And Next Friend is a legal representative for someone incapacitated like Aruna, whose decision carries weight in court. Pinky Virani argued that Aruna's prolonged suffering stripped her of dignity, a right enshrined in Article 21, the right to life. The KEM hospital staff who had cared for her daily countered fiercely. They saw her smiles at fish soup, her reactions to music, as signs of life were preserved. The Supreme Court, led by Justices Markandeya Katchu and Gyan Sudha Mishra, appointed a 3-doctor panel, experts in neurology, psychiatry and critical care, to assess. Their report: Aruna wasn't brain dead. She breathed on her own, responded to stimuli and showed no wish to die through her limited expressions. The court faced a dilemma. Could Article 21's guarantee of life encompass a right to die? On March 7, 2011, they ruled passive euthanasia is permissible in India for PBS patients, but only with High Court approval after a medical board's review. Active euthanasia, ending life with lethal means, remains illegal. The KEM staff, not Virani, were Aruna's true next friend, with the right to decide her fate. Virani's plea was denied, but the judgment broke new ground, hinting at living wills, a concept later formalized in 2018. Living will is a legal directive refusing life support if you are terminally ill or in PVS, enforceable with medical board approval post 2018. On May 18, 2015, pneumonia ended Aruna's 42-year ordeal, just shy of her 67th birthday. But her case rippled forward. In 2018, the Supreme Court in Common Cause vs. Union of India built on her precedent. It fully legalized living wills, documents where you say, if I am ever like Aruna, pull the plug. It's passive euthanasia with a twist. You decide ahead of time. A direct descendant of the 2011 ruling. Article 21's right to dignity now officially includes dying on your terms. Well, sort of. Active euthanasia? Still a no-go. India's law walks a tightrope between choice and caution. Yet, the legacy stumbles in practice. By 2023, fewer than 1% of Indians had living wills, bogged down by awareness gaps and bureaucratic delays. Aruna's case opened a door, but walking through it remains a challenge. Euthanasia laws across the globe reveal striking differences, shaped by each nation's unique cultural, ethical, and legal values. From the Netherlands' permissive stance to strict bans in nations like Indonesia and Nigeria, the spectrum is vast. To grasp these differences, it's essential to clarify two key terms: physician-assisted suicide and euthanasia. In physician-assisted suicide, a doctor provides the means, such as prescription for lethal drugs or guidance, and the patient takes the final step themselves. Whereas euthanasia, as discussed earlier, refers to intentionally ending a patient's life to relieve suffering. It is often divided into two categories based on the method. The first one is active euthanasia, where a doctor directly administers life-ending drugs, such as through a lethal injection. And the second one is passive euthanasia, where life-sustaining treatments such as turning off a ventilator or stopping dialysis are withheld or withdrawn, allowing the patient to die from their underlying condition. The Netherlands embraced both active euthanasia and physician-assisted suicide in 2002 under strict rules, such as requiring evidence of unbearable suffering with no hope of relief. By 2023, these laws accounted for 9,068 cases, representing 5.4% of all deaths in the country, a significant proportion that underscores the law's impact. Canada's Medical Assistance in Dying program, launched in 2016, initially supported terminally ill patients but expanded in 2021 to include those with severe irremediable conditions. In 2023, Health Canada recorded 15,343 MAID deaths, 4.7% of all deaths that year, out of a higher number of requests. In the US, physician-assisted suicide is legal in 10 jurisdictions, including Oregon and Washington DC, but active euthanasia remains illegal. Oregon's 1997 Death with Dignity Act, the nation's first, allows terminally ill adults to self-administer lethal medication. In 2023, this resulted in 376 deaths. It's a state-by-state patchwork. Similarly, Switzerland has permitted physician-assisted suicide since 1942, making it one of the earliest adopters. Unlike the US, however, Switzerland stands out globally by allowing non-residents to access this option, leading to what's called suicide tourism, where people travel there to end their lives legally under strict regulations. Like the US, active euthanasia remains illegal, marking a clear boundary at direct intervention. India's approach stands apart. Cautious yet groundbreaking, it permits passive euthanasia, the withdrawal of life support, but anchors it to High Court approval, denying active intervention or unchecked patient choice. This delicate equilibrium, dignity tempered by judicial restraint, bears the indelible mark of Aruna Sandberg's 42-year struggle. Aruna's case exposes a moral tightrope. The KEM staff's care, no bed sores in 42 years, was lauded as heroic. Yet, was it enough to justify her state? The nurses chose life. Virani chose dignity. The court chose caution. Under Article 21, you've got autonomy, the right to decide your fate. But the state's got a duty to protect life. Add a next friend into the mix and it's a legal tug of war. Aruna's story shows why euthanasia laws feel so messy. Because they are. It's not just about sections and articles. It's about what life means when the lights go out and broader questions linger. Who qualifies as next friend? Could families exploit euthanasia for gain? A stark reminder of risks. Autonomy versus duty. Article 21 balances personal choices against the state's role. The next friend complicates it. Whose voice matters most? That's why euthanasia rulings vary case by case. Supporters of choice argue dignity demands agency. Critics warn of abuse in a system rife with inequality. India's framework, High Court scrutiny, medical boards seeks a middle path, but its rarity reflects the tension. Life's sanctity versus its quality. Aruna Sandberg's story isn't about an ending, it's about edges. Her silence rode through India's courts, rewriting the rules of life and death. She gave us Article 21's deeper meaning, passive euthanasia, living wills, and a hell of a fight about what justice looks like. Next time a case like this hits, you don't need to dig up Section 375 or Article 32. You've got the gist. A story is a reminder. The law's not just ink on paper. It's the heartbeat of lives like hers. So, what's your call? When does life stop being life? Say your thoughts below. And here is a question to ponder. If you were trapped in a body that couldn't speak your will, who would you trust to decide your fate? This is Justice Ephraim decoding the cases that define us. Thanks for watching.